Welcome back to Broncos Country Tonight. All right, so we just got done talking about the impact Von Miller's absence will be on the defense. Let's move over, though, to the offense, Ben, and talk a little bit about how maybe the offense, as I think most of us had predicted the offense could start a little bit slow, maybe ramp up as the season moves along. Maybe the Von Miller injury is a bit of a wake-up call to the offense, maybe a bit of a rallying cry for them. And maybe we see them do something that many of us hadn't predicted.
That was my first thought. After I got over the, oh, no, not Vaughn, that was my first thought with this injury was, hey, this should be a rallying cry to the offense. This is your opportunity to put your stamp on this team. This is your chance to say, hey, the defense has carried the Denver Broncos for the last couple of years. It's our time to shine. And you've got a young, excitable group of guys that you figure should be able to do something like that. So, but the first thing I looked at when this whole thing shook out is not, oh, no, how is the defense going to cover for Vaughn? It was, maybe the offense is going to get a little boost on this. Maybe the offense is going to say, hey, we got to get our rear in gear and get out of here and get over there and get some points on there. And so I was kind of hoping that that's the way this transfers forward.
I mean, they certainly have the personalities to do that, right? I mean, Drew Lock by himself seems like the kind of guy, the gunslinger mentality, people throw that around, but he seems like that kind of guy that would look for this as an opportunity. But I think about Cortland Sutton. I think about Philip Lindsay. I think about Dalton Reisner. I think about all those personalities and how they are looking forward to the opportunity to move this team away from the era of, oh, it's just about the defense, and if the defense is good, then the Broncos have a chance in games. They want to become where people start talking about this offense, and no better way than to utilize this moment where the team is probably feeling a little bit down about this situation, and you already saw the line move on the Titans game, for crying out loud. The Broncos were a 1-point favorite, moved to a 2.5 underdog. I think you can use that. I think if this offense sees that and says, okay, listen, guys, we're going up against the second worst team in red zone last year in the Tennessee Titans. We need to close out drives, and we need to give our defense a lead. I think it could happen.
I think you need to get Jarrell Casey in there and start picking his brain on a few extra things. But, overall, I look at this and I'm like, wow, the respect from Vegas for Von Miller on this, the respect from bettors from Von Miller. 3 points is more than a quarterback usually moves the line, and that usually is the only thing that moves the line. The fact that Von Miller moves the line 3 points is absolutely saying something. So if you're the Denver Broncos, I think you look at this and you say, wait a minute, Jadeveon Clowney, we respect him, we respect his talent, but how good a shape can this guy be in if he's just showing up and was a guy who wanted to skip camp? Maybe we run at him right away. I know he's a preeminent run defender. Maybe we run at him right away, try to tire him out a little bit early, see if we can't get him off the field. Look around at the other areas of this defense, this Titans defense, and you say, what areas can we exploit? We played them just last year. Some of those guys aren't even there anymore. What areas can we exploit on this defense? And so I think you got to hit the film and the tape real hard this week. I think you got to double down. I think you got to say, hey, you know what? We were coming into this and we were prepared to do all this kind of stuff, but I want to sit back down and I want to see if there's any extra edge we can get. Let's go out and win this one for Vaughn.
And you could take it to him, really. I mean, and we'll get into a little bit deeper breakdown of the Titans coming up in the next segment, so I don't want to do too much. But you're going to have the home field advantage of altitude. You can run, and you've been up here. You've been practicing at altitude. So this game, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game in a couple of weeks, you could go right at these teams. I would, if I was Pat Shurmur, I'd be looking to go up tempo. And we know for a fact, because we saw it in training camp and we saw it even last year, we know Drew Lock tends to function better in those circumstances. A lot of young quarterbacks tend to function better, but you have a lot of speed on this team. That is going to be very difficult for any team to stay with them, especially if you're moving up tempo and making them run constantly.
And that's what they should do. They should kind of have almost a Houston Rockets basketball mentality here. Let's go up tempo, 7 seconds, and bam. No, I want to see that. I've been wanting to see that in the Broncos for a while, specifically early season type games where teams aren't in great football shape, where you can gas guys like that. And you can do that. And if I'm Pat Shurmur, we're dialing up a bomb on play one right away. We're making everybody run down the field, get some of that wind sucked out of them. Then I'm coming at you with power. Then I'm coming downhill with Melvin Gordon. Then I'm going sideline to sideline with Phil Lindsay. We're going to tire you out. We're going to be more physical, and we're going to tire you out. And you figure, coming in, Derrick Henry's going to be the physical back. Let Melvin Gordon be the physical back. Let him run down that team. Let him run down that Jadeveon Clowney that hadn't been in camp all this time, and see how that goes.
I just look forward to seeing the personality of this Broncos offense over the course of the year. So whatever happens here at the beginning, over the course of the season, I'm looking forward to seeing how those young personalities, the ones that want to be the future of this team, that have said that out loud, we want to be the core of this team. I want to see that personality show up on game days. It's been just so long. we saw a glimmer of it in those final 5 games with Lockout there. But it's been so long with a personality type that almost mimics their quarterback, Joe Flacco, Case Keenum, Trevor Siemian, kind of an offense that kind of takes what you give them rather than taking what they want. And that is something that I feel like, regardless of the ups and downs of what we saw in training camp, I always felt like there was a little bit more of aggressive nature. Pat Shurmur did look to exploit. There were a lot of weaknesses on the Broncos defense, but he did look to exploit those. And this is a team that, based on the talent, they may be a little bit young, but based on the talent, they could be, some people say they're a year away. They could get there now.
It could be. We saw the Niners get there a year early last year. They had been planning that this was going to be the year they were going to make the big push, and they got there a year early. It's entirely possible. I don't want to heap that kind of expectation on the Denver Broncos at this point, but I like the point that you were talking about earlier about playing at tempo. It's not just about gassing the guys, too. With Drew Lock and some of these younger players, it takes them out of overthinking things. You got so much information coming into the pro game. And when you're a quarterback, if you can just get back into that playing off of muscle memory, playing off that athlete memory because you're playing at tempo and just going out there and doing stuff, I think that's going to be good for him. So hopefully Pat Shurmur and his veteran experience comes in, sees these things, says, hey, we've got some market inefficiencies over here we can take care of against the Tennessee Titans. Let the Broncos get it done.
And meanwhile, just leadership in general, you talked about it on the show, on Broncos Country Tonight, the radio show. Kareem Jackson, Justin Simmons on the defensive side of the ball. Those guys need to step up. Those guys need to kind of calm the waters a little bit.
They do. They're going to have to step in without Todd Davis and Von Miller there. They're going to have to step in and help quarterback that defense a little. Jarrell Casey's going to have to become a guy right away, even though he's in his first year, who's vocal and upfront about things and holding guys accountable because Wolfie isn't here anymore. So, it's going to be one of those things where you're going to need guys to step up that haven't necessarily done it before.